Nico Buerta, and thank you very much for this day that I can share my testimony with you. You know, as a child, you think that growing up and the way your parents conduct themselves has got no bearing on your life. But you are part of that life, good or bad, and it will have some relevance to your life. So my father's addiction, later when I grew older, I realized my father had 3-4 women in every town. When he got me alone in a brief moment, he says, listen, I'm going to be sexually involved with this woman lady. You're going to sleep next to the bed on a mattress. You're going to have to listen to everything that I do. Little did I know, my father was busy training me, defining me, and impacting my life in a way I would never have explained or understood. I remembered I had to sleep there. I had to listen to their sexual encounters, to her grievings. A boy is only what his father teaches him, and we learn what we see. Later it impacted my life more extensively. My life was sexually motivated. So thank God, again, I had a teacher that took me to a church meeting. I found Christ. The pastor's son that then shared with me, Glenn Anderson, I told him, I don't know how I can be freed. I need to tell you my story because I've got addictions. And I said to him, I need to tell you, can this Jesus really, really restore this and make me whole? That was the first and foremost thing you have to do, to acknowledge you have a problem. And yes, sometimes we go to various institutes, you go to sometimes people that think they can help you, and they mean well. But Christ is the only one that can take your life and make it new again. And I never had any sexual encounter up to then again, ever, until my marriage. Thank God, I was married for 28 years to this lady and never ever had a desire.
Okay, Nico, so life was good and things went well and much better. And you were free and you had a good marriage, and then tragedy happened in your life many years after. Tell us about that.
I was happily married for 28 years. My wife and I never ever had even a harsh word to say to each other. Because we were both born again. Our children was in Sunday school. I was a Sunday school superintendent. I sang in the mass choir. I sang duet. I sang solo. I sang quartet. I was engrossed. I worked amongst the young people in my life with where I came from. I washed and bathed the tramps in the street for 3.5 years, took them to my home. My life was just plain sailing. And one particular morning, our children then, by the age of 15, and a friend of mine's son, which was like a son in my house, Brandon, he was 19, they went out the evening, and they've gone out before with his car. And his father bought him a new car. His car didn't arrive that Friday. He came to me in the week and said his father knew the car wasn't going to come because they said they can't prep it. And the father brought the son, and the son said, Flakkie, can I borrow your bakkie? I had a Porsche at that time and several other cars. The only reason I mentioned the Porsches, all the ABS system, all the protection and airbags that you could think of. But the car was not conducive for this young boy. And yet I was apprehensive because I've never given my car to anybody to drive. And my wife screamed 3 times, no, I can't give the car. I could not understand it. The boy was a wonderful boy. I led him to Christ not long before this. And he came in my house. We stayed in the same suburb. They stayed a couple of houses from us. And my wife's conduct was quite bizarre, but I could not understand. And I said, no, you can take the car. And I particularly took the bakkie because it had bull bars, which was manly designed with massive pipes like this and like train tracks at the bottom. The car was bulletproof and solid. So I said, take the bakkie. So he still made a joke, says, well, mate, fill it with petrol. And so we had a little giggle. And needless to say, my wife was a finalist in a beauty contest, and we had to go somewhere else. We planned that the kids, my daughter will sleep over at their house because we'll only be late or not even came home, and both the kids will sleep there, my other daughter as well. And we came home, and then the phone rang and the kids were killed in a motor vehicle accident. It brought a lot of trauma in our house. It was bizarre. It was distraughtful. I cannot explain those years for both families. We don't know where to start. We don't know where to grow. Nobody can prepare you, like I said, for even, as I spoke earlier, with which university to go to for sexology, or to advance your life, or the no's and the do's and the don'ts about life. Nobody could prepare me for how do you handle a life when your kids are killed in a motor vehicle accident or any other form of. So our life totally stopped. My wife stopped living immediately. She came to me and said, lock me up in Tara, I don't want to live anymore. I thought it was just something she says now. 4 years later, nothing. 4 years, no sexual encounter, no sexuality. And one day I said to her, listen, I've got needs. I mean, the woman started looking pretty again around you with my businesses. And I said to her, I've got needs. She said to me, I said, how long do you still want to mourn? She says, I'm mourning. I said, how long do you still want to mourn? She said to me, 10 years. I said, 10 years? I said, I can never take 10 years. It's impossible. And maybe it was a metaphor, but in her eyes, she was serious. I don't want to live anymore. Lock me up. I saw death. And being born again, I thought we would have the answer to work through it. The pastors didn't know. The church didn't know. Nobody can prepare you. They can have good words and that. But that pain, that loss of a person, whether it's and other people with a little dog, their grandmother, their mother, the same form of loss can really take you over the edge. If you knew Flacky Buerta, there's nothing that could take me over the edge. And I don't know how to handle it. I couldn't say the correct words. She will lose it. I would tell her the sun will shine. Where's the sun shining? There was also always an attack after a soft word. Eventually, I retracted. So eventually, we never spoke. I would come home. She would sit there. She would go to bed early. I would do my own thing. So didn't know how to deal with the pain. I started working harder to try and get away from the pain. She had her way of dealing with it, and I had my way. Because nobody can prepare you how you must mourn. But it was disastrous, because the hope is that tomorrow will be a better day. And nobody had to go in the child's room ever again. The room was still standing the night it was when she passed on. We weren't allowed to sell the clothes or clean it up, or nobody was prepared to go there. I remember a family once came and visited. The little girl wandered off. She went in the room. She touched the teddy bear. The next moment, my ex-wife was there. She scolded her and screamed and lost it. That I actually had to take the people and ask them to leave. So it was embarrassing times. And there was no word that you could use that could prepare you to make it right. But I had needs. So eventually, I started getting aggressive. I was upset about everybody, not just cross with God. I was cross with people, public, the church. I don't go to church anymore. So because the church never had the answer. And all they said is, lock your gate and let nobody disturb you. Pull out your phone and you need to be alone. And if you knew Flacky Buerta has been a people's person, that was not the recipe for me. So I carried on and I tried to work through my pain. So the harder I work, and meaning really work harder, I would come home 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and my wife was asleep. So it didn't add and helped our cause, because you should communicate. You see that confidence of someone to speak to. Sadly, the family couldn't help us. Your close family couldn't help us. My father-in-law wrote me off, never spoke to me till this day. My mother-in-law never spoke to me to this day. They never asked me once, son, how you feel after Nicolese and Brandon died. It was bizarre, because you think somebody will say something. Eventually, I had to see a psychiatrist, which was against my grain. I don't need a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist pacified me. And after 3 sessions, he said, you know what, you're the guy with the greatest sense of humor I've ever met. Please, the people that send you, bring them here that I can treat them. I said, no, let's have at least 8 sessions that look at least like we're progressing. I've got some habits, I've got problems. He says, I can't do it. And my broker got involved. It was 10 years, my broker. He wanted me to go to teasers. Because we as men, we spoke. He was totally unsaved. He was not saved. So I said, I don't want to go to teasers. But the seeds were started planting. And shortly before long, one particular day, unfortunately, a guy came in the shop. I had 7 stores. And he said, boss, look here, I brought you something. I said, no, I haven't got time now. I had furniture stores. So and as he opened up the bag, he pulled out a tape of pornography. And the more I tried to look away, the more, this is what I want. And looking at the one, he says, boss, you look at this one and this one. And eventually he started bargaining with the price. And I said to him, listen, how many are there? He says, boss, I think 25. I said, I'll take all 25. Paid $5,000 for it. And I took volume 1. And I use a phrase now that you will see where it leads to. After looking at volume 1, my wife sleeps every night using sleeping tablets. I was on my own. I had a double-story house. So I had a big 70 square meter room with all the VCRs at that time, not the technology of today, and I engrossed in myself, and before long started in masturbation, a thing that I knew from my past. And at least then I said to myself, I don't feel guilty because I don't go to women, I don't go to teasers, but because you know of your godliness, it brings a rift between you and God, because God asks of you to use self-control and to work through this. And that was tough. I said, God, how can you tell me to do this? And then God comes boldly and he says that I won't test you above your strength. So, I mean, Lord, you really ask a lot of a man and you're boasting of me. How do I deal with this? I think it was to deal with was a problem. And in the previous former years, when I met the pastor's son, at least I could confide in me. He told me there was a God. Now I knew God. So I knew the answers, but the answers didn't make sense. So I stopped reading the Bible. I stopped going to church. And before I knew it was 11 years. But by then I went into volume 2, volume 3, and then eventually, and then I will burn the tapes. I feel guilty. And after 3 weeks, who walks in? I told you, your platform is set once your thought pattern is there. Here comes the same African guy. He says, boss, look at you. I said, no, I had you. He says, boss, it's new ones. I bought volume 2. Felt guilty, I burnt it. Volume 3. Burnt it, and then I said, never again. But I never went back to church. So I had no support team that I could confide in once again what I was involved with. Obviously, I was humiliated. I was ashamed, because how am I going to tell? I'm a born-again guy that people always looked up to, and now I'm involved. The very things I help them with, I'm involved with in my own way. So then I said, okay, all I do is I don't go to church anymore. And I said, God, do with me what you like. So my life took a rapid turn. But I want to tell the people out there, don't think because you're born again that you will not be tested, that this is a last straw. If you've worked through certain issues, you always have to stay focused. I lost my focus. For the record, a little joke, even started cycling and that to help me later years. I tell my friends, after I came back to Christ after 11 years. But I want to tell you people out there that you'll be tested again. If you lose your focus, you're offline with God, those spirits will come and visit you again. They will open your mind. So stay focused. And this is a word I want to use. In the world that people use the F word for various reasons, I also use the F word, stay focused. So I want to tell you out there, stay focused. So I came back to Christ 11 years later. I remarried again. My life was on course again. But where did I go? I went back to church again. I had to go do repentance before God. I had to do again forgiveness. I had to forgive people that in this period of 11 years where I was offline, I got angered. I dressed in proper manners. I had to again ask forgiveness. So I thought it was only the first time with my father, and to forgive him at the age of 40, I was challenged again. You know what? Nobody will leave this life unscathed. So if you stay focused and your mind is on what you need to do, and you only call upon God, and He's your source of your existence, He's the source of your power, nobody else. There are people there that are supportive, but you really have to find the right support team that understand you, give you direct advice, harsh advice sometimes, because that's what you don't want to hear. You want somebody to pacify you, to make you feel good, because they agree with you, got a reason why you should conduct yourself that way. You cannot condone what you do. In God's eyes, God comes and said, I cannot forgive if you cannot forgive. So that was the start. And then God sent me back to the very church that actually excommunicated me and didn't know how to deal with Flaky Botha. And eventually I was upset with them. You see, that's what Satan wants. He wants to divide you. Once he
Isolate.
divides you, you're on his side. There's only two sides. You can't serve God and mammon. So, but you have to come back. And it's all right if you go off the road. You know, the road to Christ is a straight and a narrow road. The way of the world is a broad and a wide highway. Why? Because a straight and narrow road, you've got to stay focused and concentrate more that you don't veer off. And if you hit a pothole, if you go off, if you land in the mud, just bring your little vehicle back on again. It's all right. Repent. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. And even today, I'm not perfect. When I speak to you, don't think I'm perfect at all. But I came back to Christ. My life has been totally rejuvenated. I understand things different. I had to, if you ask me today, Nico, did you have to go through that to bring you back more maturely to handle things with people in the modern life today? I can't say that you need to be prepared, but I'm more prepared with all the knowledge and first-hand experiences to help the people out there.
If you know someone who fell victim to addiction, or if you yourself are held captive by any form of habit or addiction, please dial these numbers that we will now be showing on the screen. Act promptly, because you are worth it. This is Global Recordings Network Southern Africa, with content that matters.